Coming up this morning on DITV, Border Talk. Iowa City residents discuss what is happening at the U.S.-Mexico border.
And later, find out Iowa City's plan to prevent flooding this spring.
You think you had an off day yesterday? We recap Iowa's baseball letdown against Illinois State later in sports.
Since it's finally April, are we going to see some of those famous April showers that bring May flowers? Stay tuned for weather to find out.
All that more coming up on this Thursday morning edition of DITV.
Don't click anywhere. DITV starts right now.
Good morning, thank you for tuning in. I'm Ncaa.
And I'm Declan Levy. Yesterday, the Iowa Court of Appeals ruled that the University of Iowa must pay roughly $22 million to Modern Piping, a contracting company. The UI hiring to work on the Hampshire Auditorium and the Stead Family Children's Hospital projects. The UI and Modern Piping settled their contract, but the UI claims they never agreed to it. Despite their appeal, the university's signature on the contract holds them accountable for the $22 million payout. For more on this story, pick up a copy of our paper edition, where Daily Iowan reporter Kelsey Harrell explains in full detail.
Last night, the Iowa City Public Library held a panel discussion on the current events at the United States-Mexico border. The U.S. Center for Human Rights and the Iowa City Catholic Worker House put on the event. Attendees watched clips from a PBS documentary focusing on the gang violence in Honduras that pushes thousands of asylum seekers to the U.S. Those who spoke included legal experts, asylum seekers living in Iowa, and human rights advocates.
Democratic candidate Kamala Harris just announced she will be making her third trip to Iowa City next week. Harold lost in a town hall meeting at the UI's Iowa Memorial Union Wednesday, April 10th. The meeting will focus on her plan to boost teachers' salaries on a national level. At a roundtable discussion in Carson City, Nevada, Harris explained her stance on teacher pay in more detail.
That when I look at an issue of teacher pay, some people will say, well, what about the cost? What about the cost? And I think the analysis and the perspective there is all wrong. Because just like anybody in the private sector would do, and it would be applauded, if they grow their company and they think about what they're going to put into it to help it grow so it can be more productive and more efficient and more successful. They don't look at it as a cost, they look at it as an investment. And on this subject, that's how we.
The California senator visited Iowa in February, where she spoke to a Cedar Rapids crowd.
Democratic presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren proposed a policy last week that would break apart corporate farms and agribusinesses. Warren, who is also fighting to break apart large banks and tech companies, says her plan would even the playing field for small family farms by ending contract farming and breaking up monopolies. Members of Iowa's agriculture sector say these policies won't fix what is currently wrong in agriculture. Lindsey Greener, president of the Iowa Soybean Association, says most corporate farmers started out small and that the markets can work for anyone. Mark Stutzman, chief operating officer of an equipment supplier company, says monopolies are more prominent in the meatpacking industry and not farming.
The state of Iowa is feeling the hit of detrimental flooding this spring season in the western portion of the state, but this flooding might come closer to here soon enough. DITV reporter Maggie Binders has more on the Johnson County flood plan.
Flooding season has only just begun in the state of Iowa, and Johnson County will see the effects of flooding even more as spring progresses. This winter, there was over 100% more snowpack than the average in Johnson County, contributing to higher flooding this spring with a rapid snowmelt. I sat down with Dave Wilson, Johnson County's emergency management coordinator, to further understand the flood conditions in Iowa City.
So we had flooding in the fall. We went into the winter with the ground 100% saturated. So as they say, the sponge was full and then it froze. Then we had a rapid snowmelt this spring. So the soil conditions have not really had a chance to have any significant drying. And right now we've been fortunate enough that we've not seen significant rains in the immediate area or in the Iowa River Basin. but the lake is quite high right now. It's a little over 700 foot, where it's normally at 679. So they're trying to evacuate water while they still can and get water evacuated from the system, but they're kind of up against some timelines.
That timeline includes the start of planting season on May 1st, and Johnson County and the state of Iowa are doing all they can to ease the effect of floodwaters on farmers.
We try and mitigate things through flood buyouts, getting people that are in high-frequency areas out of those areas, returning those to wetlands and natural areas that can take the water.
For more information on flooding in Iowa, visit ifis.iowaflood.org.
Declan, flooding is always a downside of warmer weather, but on the bright side, I heard we might be seeing temperatures in the 70s this weekend.
I sure hope so. I could use that weather, but let's toss it over to Melissa in the weather studio right now. Good morning, Melissa.
Thanks, Declan and Sydney. I do not think we'll be seeing any April showers today, but I have a feeling we might later in the week. Today's weather is looking to be, for the most part, pretty mild. There will be overcast skies and a 20% chance of some rain showers. The temperature will be 52 degrees, but it might feel a little bit colder because there's going to be moderate winds around 15 to 25 miles per hour. Those cloudy skies will stick around as we move into tonight. Tonight's temperature will drop to 40 degrees, and the winds will be around 10 to 15 miles per hour. As we look further into the week, Friday will be mostly cloudy with a high of 64 and a low of 46 degrees, with very light winds. Heading into this weekend, temperatures are warming up. Saturday and Sunday's temperatures will be in the low 70s and have some mild winds. But if you're planning to do anything outside, I suggest you do it on Saturday, because come Sunday, it's time to grab those umbrellas. There's a 50% chance we're going to be seeing those April showers. Next week, it looks like temperatures are going to cool down a little bit. Monday, there's a 40% chance of rain and temperatures in the upper 60s. But don't worry, on Tuesday, there will be partly cloudy skies, so we might be seeing a little bit of sunshine again, with temperatures in the low 60s. Now that it's April, it might be a good idea to keep those umbrellas and rain boots out just in case you need them. Declan and Sydney, back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Melissa. After an 8-month search, the University of Iowa School of Music has chosen a new director. Tammy Walker, who is currently the Dean of Music at Western Illinois University, hopes to move the school into a newer and more progressive direction. Walker outlined 4 focus areas she plans to explore here at the UI: recruiting, curriculum, diversity, and community. She is set to start her position July 1st.
United Way, a national nonprofit, is celebrating 100 years of their Johnson and Washington County branches. United Way talked about how they have managed to stay successful throughout the past 100 years, even as the community goes through significant changes.
You know, hunger has been a stable need, I think, for over the years, from the beginning of inception all the way through. Hunger, the basic needs: hunger, housing, financial stability, and those are the some of the things that we fight for. We fight for the health, education, and financial stability of everybody in our community. But we also know that because of the changing world, we have to understand that sometimes the issues facing people, for example, English as a second language, and immigrant population coming in. Most recently, that's been a real hot topic for people. And it's been an issue this community has been willing to address and open to addressing, and we're right along with that. What can we do to make some of those transitions into our community or through our community successful for people?
Throughout the next few months, United Way will be hosting many events to celebrate this milestone. For more on how you can join the celebration, visit dailyiowan.com.
Well, Sydney, Iowa baseball, they're on a big homestand. Hopefully they're keeping that win streak alive.
That's right, but I don't think things went the way we had hoped last night. Let's toss over to Kate in the sports studio with our latest updates. Kate?
Yeah, that's right, guys. Hawkeye baseball snapped their 5-game winning streak last night as they fell just short to Illinois State 11-6. Iowa put numbers up on the board first when catcher Austin Martin brought left fielder Chris Whalen home in the bottom of the first with an RBI double. But the Redbirds quickly took the lead when they scored 5 runs by the 4th inning, including a steal of home by Illinois State's Joe Butler. Martin went 4 for 5 this game, hitting 2 RBIs, while Whalen went 2 of 4 with a team-leading 3 RBIs, both offensive highlights for the Hawkeyes. But the Hawkeyes wouldn't give up just yet when they put 3 runs up in the bottom of the 9th, but it wasn't enough to defeat the Redbirds.
We gave up a bunch of free bases, and they didn't. They actually played very well, and it just wasn't a good night. But I guess the lesson that we have to take from this is that we have to be mentally tougher. We have to be able to show up and play harder every single day, because we're going to have to do this again with Western Illinois and Northwestern down the road. It'll be a good trial run for us. So hopefully that's the lesson we learned. It doesn't mean that everything's falling apart or caving in, but we have to learn from that.
Obviously, we didn't come out and play the way we wanted to today, but we get the beautiful day of coming out tomorrow and wiping it away in the morning and having a good day of practice rolling into the weekend against Rutgers.
Heller ball continues this weekend to finish up their home stretch when the Hawks host Rutgers at Duane Banks. And on a positive note, the Iowa women's gymnastics team is going up against Arizona in the Ncaa tournament, and we have Kimberly Bates live in the newsroom to tell us more. Good morning, Kimberly.
Good morning, Cade.
What can we expect Iowa to bring to the table against Arizona this afternoon?
So Iowa is ranked number 32 in the national poll, and Arizona is ranked 33rd. So it's going to be a pretty close matchup. As for what they're working on, they're not focusing more on what they can do on their routines as a whole, but more of the smaller details to get as many points as possible. And when I spoke to some of the Gym Hawks, this is kind of what they had to say.
I really just want to put it all out there because it could be our last chance. Every time we go up, could be our last chance of the season. So less about trying to be perfect and more trying to just go for all the details and just go as big as possible.
Yeah, we're just really working on what we can do best, and I mean, there's no any pressure because this is the end of the season. Of course, we want to qualify more on, but it's not like we have huge pressure. It's more like expectations that we have ourselves.
It's been a long season, Kim, but do you think the Gym Hawks have reached their full potential?
So it's a pretty young team. I mean, they have 7 new gymnasts this year. So as for reaching their full potential, I don't think so. I don't think they've peaked quite yet, and I don't think we've seen the best of them. And when I spoke to Larissa Libby, this is kind of what she had to say. She kind of agreed.
I wouldn't want to be somebody that has to compete against us. I don't think that they've really reached their potential yet. And if it all works out on the one day, look out, because they are dangerous. When they're on, they're dangerous. So I am super excited. It's gonna be rough.
After this competition against Arizona, if they advance to the second session, they'll be competing against Oregon, Florida State, and Stanford.
Well, like Larissa said, I hope the Gym Hawks come out dangerous. That was Kimberly Bates, live in the newsroom. Thank you. Iowa softball has been off to a rocky start, losing 4 home games, but that has not stopped one player from giving it all. With their next Big Ten series, with their next Big Ten series here at home, hopefully Donna Ray can lead the Hawks to a much-needed win. That's all the time we have for you in sports. Tune in tomorrow where we will preview the Iowa baseball team's 3-game series against Rutgers. Declan and Sydney, I'll swing it back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Kate. And before we leave you today, we have one last story. The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced that they will no longer test on kittens.
Yeah, that's right, Sydney. The USDA previously infected kittens with parasites because they're the only species where parasites can complete their life cycle. Last year, legislation was passed to stop the use of kittens, which is now in full effect. USDA employees can now adopt these furry friends along with the public. You gonna buy yourself a kitten?
You know, I don't think so personally. I'm more of a dog person, and I'm also allergic to cats, so probably not the best idea, but you can adopt one for me, I'm sure.
Sounds good, Sydney.
So thank you for tuning in to this Thursday morning edition of DITV. Be sure to head over to dailyiowan.com for all your latest news.
And if that isn't enough for the Daily Iowan, be sure to check out our print edition on newsstands now.
For DITV, I'm Sydney Zatz.
And I'm Declan Levy. Have a great day, Iowa City.